Well, the questions keep mounting over the FBI's handling of that detailed tip on a Florida shooter, Nicholas Cruz. President Trump, in fact, slamming the FBI in a tweet saying, quote, very sad that the FBI missed all of the many signals sent out by the Florida school shooter. This is not acceptable. They are spending too much time trying to prove Russian collusion with the Trump campaign. There is no collusion. Get back to the basics and make us all proud. Florida Governor Rick Scott also pressing the FBI to release details that were dismissed in that tip. Here now to discuss, Madison Gesiotto, Washington Times columnist and National Diversity Coalition for Trump advisor. Also back with us, Emily Jasinski and Ford O'Connell. Madison, let me start with you. Of course, President Trump getting some blowback because he interjected the politics into the FBI's mishandling of this. It does not, though. It does not excuse the mistakes, the many mistakes that the FBI made in this case.
You know, what is there to say? It's simply heartbreaking. At the very least, according to the FBI protocol, they should have referred the caller, the January caller specifically, to the Miami FBI Bureau. They didn't even do that. They did nothing about it. And this was a pretty detailed, serious accusation. They could have saved a lot of lives. And yeah, in this case, it turned out terrible. In other cases, it may not have. But this is only one. They could not be following up on many things like this. How many more situations do we need to see and do we need to go through as a society, as, you know, American citizens, seeing people killed just because of FBI incompetence, potentially?
You know, Emily, we all praise our law enforcement. We love them. We appreciate them. I have members of my family in law enforcement, you know, but it does get to the point where there has to be some serious scrutiny and criticism, and it must be acted upon. Now, Rick Scott would like to see Christopher Wray step down. Where do you think we should see some action, some accountability here?
If ever anything serves as a wake-up call, this is it. It is staggering and unacceptable and heartbreaking and disgusting that one person could drop so many hints that something like this was coming. And the government that we pay and the victims' families paid taxpayer money to create, the FBI, was not doing its job. That there was a tip on January 5th, that there was a tip on YouTube, a very clear cue. That's one of the things that social media has shown with serial killers, mass killers, time and again, is we see that they are leaving these clues. The fact that the government did not catch this, that this person fell through the cracks when they had this information available to them, they didn't transfer the call to the Broward Sheriff's Office, it's staggering, and it obviously means, and Marco Rubio is right to call for an investigation of the FBI.
Ford?
Well, look, I absolutely agree with Emily. Look, for all of the good the FBI does, they apparently badly dropped the ball here. I mean, Cruz was basically what we would call, in terms of evidence, a priority one, red alert, and the system absolutely failed. I do think we need to get to the bottom of why this actually occurred before we start lopping off heads at the FBI, but it clearly shows that they did not follow information protocol because they have more resources than any other part of law enforcement, and frankly, had they just even followed up on this, not only would they have seen the social media posts, they would have contacted the school, and they would have seen the dozens of calls to Broward County authorities. This is absolutely terrible. And to Emily's point, if they're blowing this, what else are they blowing?
Well,
and that should worry a lot of Americans.
You know, I did Google last week when we were talking about this. I Googled FBI blows it, and I found articles going back to Pearl Harbor. And I'm not being facetious either. So we know after 9/11 that CIA and the FBI didn't communicate with each other, Madison. I mean, again, these are major incidents, and we ask them to do a lot to protect America. We know that it's an amazing, enormous job, and we're forever grateful. But when an organization typically breaks down like this, at least a big business organization, at some point the board of directors gets rid of the head of that organization. What sort of accountability do we need to see? What sort of action do we need to see as Americans to know that they're taking this seriously?
You know, of course we recognize that their job is very, very difficult, but at the same time, American lives are at stake, and they can't afford to be wrong one time, especially in a situation like this. You know, even when you're doing everything you can, you could potentially see a situation like this occur. But when you're just literally not following up on things, that's just unacceptable. So we need to really go in there, get rid of the people, of course, involved with this, and I think potentially see new leadership, whether that's, you know, lower or all the way up to the director.